What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 601 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we are going to be breaking down all the current events and rumors and news and gossip and different things that happen in the world of pro wrestling this week that we feel like talking about. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are Kellen Wiggins.
Hello there.
And Robert DeFelice.
I'm back. I put the 1 in 601, baby.
You're back and better than ever.
I
According to Eric Bischoff's theme, at least. So, we got a lot to talk about this week. And as per usual, we want to remind you that we want to know what you have to say about all these things. So be chiming in with your thoughts in the comment section below on YouTube. And if you are listening elsewhere, then of course leave a comment on whatever platform it is you're listening, or hop on over to the page on smarkoutmoment.com, or tweet us at, smarkoutmoment, at Tony Mango, at Wigmeister14, at Dude Felice. If you are on YouTube, though, make sure that you also hit that like button on this and the share button. Pass this around. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already double check that, then look up. And, well, not look up, just in real life, but look up on your screen. If you do look up in real life, I don't know if you're going to find that there. But there's also that little notification bell. Ring that alert. Get your email alerts set up for all when we go live for different things, potentially live hot tags editions in the future. It was brought up, hey, do another mailbag recently. So, I'm going to do one of those. And of course, we do the pay-per-view points live. So, make sure that you are all set up for that. And also click on the join button that's next to the subscribe button and get access to the same things as the Patreon, patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. We got the Darkcast, you got the Pick Your Poison tier, and even just $1 a month goes a long way in helping us, just keep the lights on and keep the morale up and all. Same thing as that little thanks button that you can see on there. It's kind of like the super chats if you're not able to join the live chats and all. Redbubble and TeePublic is where you can find the merchandise options, and that's all the plugs I feel like doing right now. So let's get into some of the hot tags of this week. Start off with the positive one that we usually don't have too much to say, but we've been in baby fever apparently lately, and Jessie McKay, Billie Kay from WWE, is also pregnant. So congratulations to Billie Kay, and I think she had posted that December is the due date right now, so that's awesome. And I don't think that there's any other engagements or weddings or baby announcements or anything for this week. I'm not missing any, right?
Did we get Bliss being pregnant?
I think we got her last week.
That might have been the day that I left. I don't remember, but she's also pregnant. Congrats to her.
We spoke about that last week, yeah.
Yeah.
That also explains why only Peyton Royce is returning to the ring in Australia later this year.
That makes a lot more sense now, right? Yeah. So good for her. Good for her guy. I don't know if it's her husband or she's married or I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's not like we need to pry in their personal lives. But congrats to Jessie McKay. And then unfortunately we have to talk about an unfortunate passing. And this is something that I figured we've got the normal hot tags and we could do. We're going to talk about New Japan's Dominion and all, but I figured let's do kind of an impromptu bonus main event. So over the past few days, we had lost one of the big iconic characters in pro wrestling history. The Iron Sheik passed away. He may have been 81 years old. Some reports say he may have been 80, may have been 84, that his age wasn't something that they were really 100% aware of. But Iron Sheik, of course, a massive, massive part in pro wrestling history. He is the guy that passed the torch to Hulk Hogan, and, one of these super entertaining characters that kind of transcends wrestling in some ways. Obviously he wasn't like doing a bunch of movies and everything like The Rock and all, but he's a guy that a lot of people were continuing to be fans of after he had stepped out of the ring. And we normally on the hot tags, when somebody passes away, just kind of, condolences to the friends and family and fans and talk about the moments of their career that we have that stand out and all. We will talk about that, but we're also going to do a one more match for Iron Sheik because that could be a fun little discussion. So first off, Iron Sheik passing in general, the moments, the, contributions. What do you guys want to toss out there?
I mean, one of the wrestlers that I think really popularized life after wrestling and the shoot interview medium with the funny stuff that he did with like RF video and kayfabe commentaries. He really was a character, and obviously, even though it wasn't him tweeting, the Twitter made him a parody of himself, but it also made him more endearing, because you could just look up and he'd tweet, you know, "Happy Thanksgiving to everybody except fuck Hulk Hogan."
Like, I love that became just like, it's going to be decades worth of except Hulk Hogan, fuck you Hulk Hogan and all. Happy New Year's to everybody except that jabroni Hulk Hogan and all.
Yeah, and I think he will be missed. And he really was such a part of the rock and wrestling era and that original boom of wrestling. So, you know, RIP and condolences to everybody. Everybody really felt this one.
Yeah, it's hard to really, I guess, in my position, to put too much stock on his in-ring work, because I didn't really watch a huge amount of his stuff. And by the time that I did come back to watching like early WrestleManias, by that point Sheik was already, I would say, like on his last legs, but he was definitely like the peak of his career was during the late 70s, 80s in terms of an in-ring performer. And then he becomes WWE champion in 1983, but he's purely a transitional guy to go from Bob Backlund to Hulk Hogan. But it's an important role to play. He's the guy that launches Hulk Hogan into Hulkamania, so he has to take credit for that, even though he spent the rest of his Twitter life bashing Hulk Hogan for it. Yeah, Hall of Famer, definitely like a great personality and character. People might forget like him coming back because like the Sultan briefly and stuff along those lines. So
winning the Battle Royal, the gimmick Battle Royal, partially because he wasn't able to take the bump over the top rope, but it was, you know, I mean, the Iron Sheik winning the gimmick Battle Royal is still something that makes sense compared to a lot of other people that were in that match.
I think to today's generation, he's fondly remembered to be the guy that says just crazy things in all caps on Twitter, and you know, he seemed like a cool enough dude in that regard. Probably gone some, at least by his own admission, got up to some really crazy stuff during the 80s. But then again, basically every wrestler did. So
the stories of some of those things with Sheik and you know, some car ride things, and even just like, you know, I mean, Rob mentioned the RF video stuff. Go back and check out Iron Sheik, even past when he's retired, and it is so entertaining to just hear him talk. And you know, he could talk about like a completely mundane thing, and it's fun to listen to because he's just a fun, bombastic character. So definitely one of the greats gone. But let's talk about one more match, because, you know, when this stuff happens, I usually try to tie some stuff into it. And we already had our main event for this week. And of course, you know, we weren't just going to add another one in there, but we're doing that now. And we could technically just say like, all right, next week, let's do Superstar Scores for him or whatever. We currently have plans to do Fan Ounce Table of Money in the Bank. And, you know, maybe if we are feeling more Iron Cheeky, more Iron Cheeky. That's a verb, I guess, or an adjective. Then maybe we will kind of do like a Superstar Scores or something. But we also are not from that era, so it would be a little hard for us to kind of judge those in-ring skills and all. But we can do one more match for him. And this is a discussion that, for anybody who doesn't know what one more match is about, it's essentially if you could get somebody that they can come back and they can have a program with someone, they could have one match at like a WrestleMania, like a big farewell match that, you know, it's kind of inspired by Christian's whole I just want one more match type thing. And we have done various different ones in the past. We've had Eddie Guerrero, we had Chyna, we had I believe Shawn Michaels might have been one that we had done. I think we had picked like Kevin Owens for him.
Yep.
The most recent one that we had done actually was kind of a part of a combination thing where it was the one more match and Wrestling with the Past and the WWE Hall of Fame. And we kind of talked about some of those people like Andy Kaufman and all. Triple H, Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero, as I said before. So if Iron Sheik could come back, and if we could put him on the stage for WrestleMania and set up a feud for somebody in WWE, and then maybe we'll talk about AEW and stuff, who do you think would be the best possible opponent for him? Who would be the guy that you would want to see him feud with and either beat or probably more than likely lose to? Because Iron Sheik, he was a character that you could probably have somebody beat him and it would still be okay.
Are we ruling out him just beating up Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. Hulk Hogan wants to have another match too. Why not? It could be he gets his win over Hogan and then he's just like, yeah, you know what? See, I told you that he was a jabroni.
Honestly, the Hogan stuff is the first thing that comes to mind. But if we're going to try to be a little more original than that, I think I could see him. I want to think, Cody, because Cody's got the America thing going on. Because I really want to play to that whole America thing, because that's the main bulk of the Iron Sheik character. So maybe something like a Cody Rhodes.
See, my first thought was John Cena.
That's very good.
Because I could just picture him being like, fuck you, John Cena. And, having the same kind of patterns with Hogan. But at the same time, there's an argument to be made. If we've seen that all before, it might be interesting to see Hogan or see Iron Sheik against somebody completely different and see what he's able to do. Put him up against like an AJ Styles and be like, what would that feud be? Or, Kevin Owens or, Chris Jericho or, somebody who would be like, how does this person work with an Iron Sheik?
I'm imagining Rey Mysterio just running circles around him, and then he just gets dizzy and falls over. 1, 2, 3.
Or like a Bobby Lashley, where he's like, I'm going to challenge you to see if you can do those. What were those things that he used to carry?
The clubs?
The clubs, yeah, where he was like, this is to show my feats of strength. And be like, Bobby Lashley thinks that he's like, the almighty, whatever. He can't do this. And like, there's an argument to be made about some of those things. Anybody stand out to you, Callum, of potential one more match ideas?
Miro.
No, Miro.
Yep.
It's the battle of the camel clutches.
Yeah, and I mean, Miro's funny, so they could have some fun around with that.
I think the other one that stood out was Sami Zayn, because they both speak Arabic, so they could cut promos in Arabic on each other, as well as also you have the humorous side of it as well. And I think Sami has great matches with pretty much anybody, great comedy matches as well as actual wrestling matches.
That would be a really good option too. Yeah, there's so many people that I would want to see on like a tour of just not even having like a feud with Iron Sheik, but just having a segment. Whether it's like The Miz or it's Chad Gable, having the shoosh thing with Iron Sheik and all, having the playoff of Iron Sheik with Matt Riddle reacting to him, since that whole stoner character would just be like, what? And Seth Rollins could have some fun with that and all. But even like a Baron Corbin, I'd like to see what Iron Sheik would cut a promo against him. It would be heel and heel, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But out of the current roster, I think that I would probably lean towards John Cena. The Cody Rhodes thing, I like that option quite a bit. But yeah, I'd go John Cena on the WWE side. I really like that Miro suggestion on AEW, but AEW's got some other options too.
Your suggestion is fantastic. I like the Sami Zayn idea as well. Maybe even, I think Kevin Owens could have some fun with him. Like, why are you here? The new self-aware Kevin Owens would have a lot of fun.
Yeah. He's really good with that kind of character. I mean, Kevin Owens kind of one of those perpetual picks for one more match for us when we're talking about these things. But I mean, on the AEW side, there's, you mentioned Miro, but there's also, I mentioned Chris Jericho would be a fun person to see him go up against. I could see Iron Sheik having a lot of fun with Orange Cassidy in a weird way. I could see there being a really good match out of that too. Just Orange Cassidy, doing his thing, because Orange Cassidy's fantastic in the ring, and you could have some fun with all that stuff. Maybe just for the sake of seeing how this would work out, like a Jon Moxley or something. I think
I'd enjoy a Roman Reigns. Honestly, like a quick, you're not the tribal chief, Bubba. And then just, he spars with Heyman a little bit on the mic. Yeah, Superman punch.
And they could like play off the whole, you are not the ones. It's like, you're on number one.
Like you see, like it would be a lot of fun to see something like that.
Bryan Danielson, man, have a match with Iron Sheik. I don't know. I'd watch it. Why not? Or even just seeing him interact with Angelo Parker and Matt Menard. You don't even have to put them in the ring together. Just have a backstage segment or something. A lot of fun options for this theoretical. We don't need to come to like a consensus thing. This was just kind of an impromptu one more match thing. But rest in peace to Iron Sheik. If you had any suggestions of matches to watch or segments to follow, or you want to talk about like his unintentional contributions to Botchamania, even he's kind of one of the faces of that brand in some ways. Leave them in the comments below. Tell us your thoughts on Iron Sheik here. Any other thoughts you guys have on that before we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, just honestly, rest in peace. Great character from that era that really made professional wrestling.
Yeah, not much more to add than just rest in peace, and I guess Twitter in heaven has added some weight to it. Oh God, Twitter's not in heaven. Of course, it's not. Oh, Twitter be in heaven.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the opposite place.
Yeah. What's he gonna do there? There must be some equivalent.
Yeah, what would the heavenly equivalent of Twitter be? I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell us the name.
Interaction, like
genuine social interactions with people that aren't toxic and MySpace. Yeah. All right, so move on to some other hot tags that we have going on here. Speaking of Iron Sheik, let's talk about Sergeant Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter is upset with Lacey Evans for using the Cobra Clutch without his permission. And there's been some stories going on around now about that they had approached him about working with Lacey Evans to do some kind of like passing the torch thing. They turned that down. Sergeant Slaughter's daughter apparently talking about like not being the biggest fan of Lacey Evans and all. There was a thing that happened with him retweeting about, I don't know if he realized, but it was like a thing about Chris Benoit respected the business by asking Jimmy Snuka for the headbutt and all this stuff. So it's bad Twitter juju when it comes to that, at the very least. What do you guys feel about this whole Sergeant Slaughter Lacey Evans thing? Because I think that they had the potential for like 7 different versions of Lacey Evans, and they've botched every single one of them. And this one, the very first thing I thought when she came out with that hat on was, this looks stupid. And then she, of course, loses. And I am once again going, I kind of think Lacey Evans is one of those people that they just fully dropped the ball with, and maybe they should kind of stop trying.
I don't think that's fair. And I don't even like Lacey Evans like that, but I don't think that that's fair. Especially on this one. Like, really, bro? Get the fuck over it. Like,
you mean Slaughter, not me, right?
Yeah. Like,
just to be sure.
You invented the fucking Cobra Clutch. Like, come on. Enough of this. Did DiBiase ask you for permission when he did the $1 Million Dream? No.
That's a different move. Like, $1 Million Dream instead. No,
very much the same move.
I'm of the opinion, of course, being an outsider, I'm not, a former wrestler legend that can talk about it that way, but I've always thought it's kind of a little bit ridiculous that people go like, oh, you didn't ask me my permission for my finisher. in this era, because it's not quite the same as the territory where it's, well, you're going around doing my move and stealing my gimmick around the same time. We're playing off, we've got multiple nature boys and everything. And I think a gimmick is something that needs quote unquote permission more than a finisher, because it's just, how many people do a spear? How many people do a power bomb? The super kick is not just a Shawn Michaels move. The sharpshooter is not just a Bret Hart move. And I personally think that maybe that's a little bit overblown, but I can also see a little bit of an argument of, hey, you can't even just sort of send me a quick text message and be like, hey, Sarge, they're thinking about using this move and just kind of wanted to get your opinion about it. Or we don't know if she did or didn't do that or what anything, but I could see kind of some both arguments. Callum, tell me how you don't care.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can be mad at Lacey Evans for. The fact that, I'll just kind of say it. She has clearly got some opinions about how to look after her kids or look after other people's kids, and then also in regards to whether autism is a real thing or not. Mm-hmm. So I think that there are many things that you can point towards and say, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. But I think stealing the Cobra Clutch, should I say, is not one of those things. It's a fucking move. Everyone does. Like, there's probably like two dozen. Like, there's probably hundreds of wrestlers since Stardust Thought used it that have used the Cobra Clutch in some fashion in a match. He's supposed to call out every single one of them. It's just the fact that she wears like camo stuff because she was actually a Marine rather than Stardust Law, who's a fake Marine.
But he was in G.I. Joe, damn it.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting a crossover movie. You might even pop up in fucking Transformers for all we know.
Yeah, so I just take the stance of, it's the move, get over it. It's like, why you should not be angry that someone is doing a move similar to you or has a gimmick similar to you. You're the first guy to be, Army Man. That's the first. He's the first ever Army Man wrestler guy.
Oh, he's the first ever Army Man. Outside of wrestling.
But yeah, I think that he's being very petty about it, and I also, and again, maybe he would prove me wrong. I also think that he's targeting her because she's a woman. I think that I think it would be different if it was because, as I say, like, there have been guys like Ted DiBiase that used it, and maybe that's because he was a peer as well and he was a very good wrestler. But I think that it's also just due to the fact that it's like the whole visage of her with the army fatigues and all that stuff. I think that there is maybe some sort of hidden resentment there. Again, I'm not spoken to the guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just throwing stuff out there just for the sake of doing it. But I think that there's more indication of guys that have used an equivalent of the Cobra Clutch, whether they've named it that or not, that hasn't caused any attention. And now there's a female wrestler doing it, and suddenly that's all everyone's talking about, or what he's talking about at the very least.
Impromptu finisher versus finisher. Best Cobra Clutch. No, I'm just kidding.
DiBiase, the $1 Million Dream is the best Cobra Clutch ever, period.
See, I never liked that was DiBiase's finisher. DiBiase always felt to me like he should have a pinfall move instead. But I don't know what that move would be, but yeah.
He puts him to sleep. The $1 Million Dream. It's amazing.
I love the name. That's fantastic. But, I mean, he could also just, go to sleep. It's a knockout move. You could have the $1 Million Dream be some sort of knockout sort of thing. I have no idea what type of move would fit Ted DiBiase if he's not doing some kind of, I don't know, Shining Wizard or something like that. But,
we just roll him up and grab the ties. That seems to be like the two go-to things to Ted DiBiase is either put him in the $1 Million Dream or just roll them up and pin them. That's probably that's what a good heel wrestler would do.
I mean, I liked how Ted DiBiase Jr. made that, like, turn it into a slam kind of thing. I thought that was kind of better, but now we're getting completely sidetracked here and talking about Ted DiBiase.
Nobody cares about this Sergeant Slaughter thing. It's
I mean, it'll be it'll be swept under the rug in a couple of days anyway. It's just another case of just a bitter old wrestler just needing to get one more chance at the spotlight and sees an opportunity of doing so.
Well, let's be honest, it's going to be swept under the rug a little bit in a few days anyway, because that's what happens with every single Lacey Evans character. That she's had 4 different resurgence returns that have lasted 2.5 weeks. So,
I mean, yeah, realistically, like, when has anyone even thought about or talked about Sergeant Slaughter in the past several years or so? It's like now he sees his opportunity and he gets a few headlines for a week or two, and so good for him.
So, let's talk about another thing that's going on here. This is, if we're talking about the army men, the military, all that stuff, let's talk about Captain America. Look at that transition. Captain America New World Order, which is of course starring, Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford and all these massive people, is also including Seth Rollins. And we mentioned before that he is going to be a member of the Serpent Society. We now have confirmation that he is playing Cobra. That's what's the person I was kind of assuming that he was. But also that they've changed the title.
Is there a clutch involved here?
There might be. It'd be kind of funny if in the movie it ends up being like he does something like the Cobra Clutch, and then it's like, I didn't ask for my fucking permission, But yeah, they've changed the title from Captain America New World Order to Captain America Brave New World. And one of the immediate reactions that I had seen online was people just tweeting out NWO stuff and being like, oh no, they changed the title because we kept doing all these memes and stuff, which of course that's not the case. I'm sure they changed the title because they thought that Brave New World would get better metrics, or that fits the theme of the movie better, or, whatever. I don't think that they're sitting there going, we don't want people posting Hulk Hogan gifs to this. I had also seen that there was a rumor that one of the potential options they were playing around with was calling it Captain America World War Hulks, and they ended up not doing that. Brave New World is, it's got a history behind that kind of phrasing, and that's kind of a fun name. But New World Order was going to be an even more fun thing to tie into pro wrestling, and get some NWO type references here and there. We're mentioning it partially because it's the Seth Rollins thing, partially because it's NWO. But if you are a big fan of Captain America and Marvel and all that stuff, then you should be checking out fanboysanonymous.com, where all the geek culture stuff and all the movie reviews and everything are going to be housed. That's the blue brand. That's the opposite of the Smack Talk and Smark Out Moment side of things. And if you go to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Patreon and, fanboysanonymous.com itself, you'll see plenty different things when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's kind of one of my main focuses of Fanboys Anonymous. But also, you should be paying attention to the Blueprint Project over there. And Captain America is one of the blueprints that I have done some work on. It's not something I've done as extensive work as like Spider-Man or Power Rangers or anything like that. For anybody that's interested, Absolute Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Epic is the thing I'm talking about there. And also stay tuned to The Batman, A Nighttime Story. And Chapter 5 is coming up whenever I get done editing it, but I recorded it last night for, 8 hours of that. And I am currently assuming it's going to be at least an 1.5 hour long video, if not a 2 hour long video, but we'll see how the editing process goes. So Captain America, the Brave New World Order side of things. Any thoughts you guys have on that, or Seth Rollins playing Cobra, or anything else to sort of carry over into that before we switch over to the next hot tag?
I'm interested to see how this will affect his career, because I remember Triple H was in Blade 3 and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be the next one to make the jump, and he clearly didn't. But Rollins might have more of a determination to be in Hollywood. As far as the Brave New World thing, I don't have too much of an opinion other than New World Order would have been a lot more funny just for the wrestling aspect.
I'm not going to watch it, so.
No interest at all? Not a big Captain America fan?
I haven't watched a Marvel movie. I haven't watched a Marvel movie in like 5 years.
Boo.
What did you end with?
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think. It's probably even longer than that. That's the last one I've watched from start to finish. Actually, I watched was it Spider-Man No Way Home.
You haven't seen Guardians 3 yet?
I haven't watched Guardians 2 yet.
Guardians 2.
Wow. You got to watch them. They're good.
I just like they came too. There were too many of them, and I lost interest in trying to catch up with all of them.
I do want to say, I forget the actor that said this, but somebody had made a point to say, yeah, I grew up with the MCU, and I was just a little kid, and my parents were taking me to those movies. So the fact that we're there with the MCU,
that was
pretty crazy.
Oh, who did I sent that thing to you? Who was that? That was I think it was like a blonde young girl. No, it was Sydney Sweeney was the one. Yeah, where it was like, I grew up, my parents were always just wanting to watch the MCU, and it was like, fuck, come on, don't tell me that a 20-something-year-old grew up with these movies. Like,
and the truth is, like, Iron Man came out, what was it, 2008 for Iron Man? So, it does.
We're not far off from it being 20 years old, which is like, just, give me a noose.
That's a different podcast.
That's an entirely different podcast. By the way, Cal, no, if you did see, if you saw Into the Spider-Verse, you should definitely check out Across the Spider-Verse. That's really good.
I hear that it's really, really good. I'm sad I haven't seen it
yet. It's really fun.
I never watched Into the Spider-Verse, so
I recommend it 100%. So that's the comic book geek out section of the Smack Talk, which means let's get into Snack Talk and talk about some food. What are you guys eating for dinner? No.
I don't know yet.
I did just get a message from my wife about think about what you want for dinner. But I'm not going to debate about that on this podcast quite yet. I don't know, unless somebody else has any thing in the comments. But let's talk about something related to New Japan and move over to something completely different here. We got Dominion just happened. We got the G1 Climax Tournament announcements. Callum, take it away.
Yes, here we go. Okay, so Dominion, I watched that start to finish. Really good show for the most part. A couple of things I weren't too keen about, but for the most part, had a lot of fun. IWGP US title number 1 contenders match. Will Ospreay defeated Lance Archer, as we expected. A lot quicker than I expected the match to be. I think it only went about like less than 15 minutes. But they decided, okay, we've only got a short amount of time. We're just going to go like hell for leather, and had pulled out all their big spots, and Will Ospreay got the victory. As expected, he's going to be challenging Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door. Forbidden Doors 2 is already shaping up to be the greatest wrestling card of all time. The two matches are booked on it, but I'm super excited for that.
It was apparently 8 minutes, and Archer had said that he had some sort of a shoulder injury or something. I think is what it was.
It said that he was coming back from a triceps injury.
Triceps, okay.
So he hasn't wrestled very much this year, so maybe they were just trying to take it easy on him. But it was still a fun match. He still pulled out a lot of his big stuff. I mean, he did a cannonball off the ring apron onto Ospreay, so it was not like he was taking it easy. LIJ's 4 members of LIJ defeated 4 members of Just 5 Guys. Just your standard multi-man tag match from New Japan. Nothing really to say there. Catch 2-2, the TJP and Francesco Akira of United Empire defeated the intergalactic jet setters of Kushida and Kevin Knight. And so they won back the junior heavyweight tag titles. Really, really fun match. I actually really enjoyed this. I know I'm not the biggest fan of the junior tag titles, but I thought the match was really good. And then Dan Maloney, who had been a newly christened member of United Empire, turned on them and joined up with Bullet Club.
Huh.
Which is a recurring theme that we'll be talking about a lot from Dominion. But so he's a new member of it, along with Clark Connors, who was already he joined Bullet Club about a month or so ago, and now Dan Maloney's in it as well. And he won't be the last new member of Bullet Club by the end of the show. New Japan World TV Championship, Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Jeff Cobb. I was surprised by the result. I really thought Jeff Cobb was going to get the victory here, but again, really good match. Just they went a lot quicker than in their previous outing to make sure they didn't hit the 15-minute time limit. And Zack got a roll-up pin to get the victory. And yeah, just a really good match. I'm interested to see what if he does fight Forbidden Door and who it will be up against, because seemingly that title will be on the line then.
I think if we're just guessing here, I'd like to suggest Orange Cassidy.
What, you go title for title?
Yeah.
You just go.
No, title for title.
I
that's
doubt
how you get Zack Sabre Jr. onto more AEW programming.
I wouldn't hedge my bets on that, but I'm definitely be up for seeing the match.
I think that's a possibility because he's on like every Ring of Honor show.
So why not? I wouldn't be surprised that he'd be on more shows, but I just don't think that he's losing the title. Like Orange Cassidy's losing the title to him because he's not actually signed with AEW. And like realistically, we'll talk about Orange Cassidy when we get to the Dynamite stuff. But he's held the title for so long that surely you'd want an AEW guy to win the title to capitalize off that momentum.
I think if Tony does one of his surprise announcements that they signed Zack Sabre Jr., nobody will be mad.
Oh no. They had both the IWGP and New Japan Strong tag titles were won by Bishamon, as expected. They defeated House of Torture and United Empire in what was comfortably, well, I'd say comfortably. It was one of the worst matches on the show, and that's because Evil and Yujiro Takahashi were in it, and House of Torture, and so that all sucks. But yeah, the right team won, the actual good team, the best team out of all the three ones. That was good. And then they were attacked post-match by two new members of Bullet Club, Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd. Now christened the name Bullet Club War Dogs. So
is that a new name, or is that like a repurposing name?
Oh no, that's just the new name for these two.
Okay.
So Alex Coughlin was a member of like the LA Dojo, so coming up through New Japan Strong, and
so was Kidd, wasn't he?
Kidd Kidd's obviously he's a British wrestler. He went through both the New Japan and then went to LA Dojo after that. So he had to take a sabbatical from wrestling for about a year or so because of mental health issues, but he's back and he's looking really good. And yeah, Bullet Club is looking very different in Japan now compared to, obviously you still have Bullet Club Gold over in AEW, but it's a very new look and a very I'd say very young edition of Bullet Club, which has got a lot of people on the fence one way or the other. Then they announced all the new members of the New Japan G1 Climax, so this year's edition, which I'll run through now. To be fair, most of the people was who you'd expect them to be, so it's like nothing super special. Okada's in, obviously, Naito, Sanada, Will Ospreay, Tanahashi, David Finlay, Shota Umino, and Shota's first one.
Yoda Tsuji, right? He's in there.
Yeah, Yoda Tsuji's in it, and Shinji Takagi, Ishii, of course, Tamatonga, Tonga Loa, which is good because Tonga Loa's been injured for a while, so he's coming back into that, so that's good. Hikuleo, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, Toriano, Kenta, Zack Sabre Jr., Taichi, El Phantasmo, Ren Narita, Evil, Chase Owens, Jeff Cobb, Great Khan, Aaron Hanare. And then there's the interesting ones, which is the two people that I've mentioned, that Gabriel Kidd and Alex Coughlin are both going into it. TM61, both members of that, Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols, formerly TM61, but now obviously just TMDK, are both going into it. Yota Tsuji. And then the two most interesting ones. First, Kaito Kiyomiya, who might be super familiar to a lot of people, but he is essentially the ace of Noah. So, basically, Noah's representative is going into the G1 Climax for the first time, and he's been having a long-running feud this year with Kazuchika Okada. So, I'm super excited to see them go up against each other. Presumably, they'll be in the same block. The blocks haven't been announced yet, so we just know the 32 names so far. And then the other one, which is, of course, the most interesting, is Eddie Kingston is going to be in the G1.
Yep.
Not a name that I would have necessarily been like, okay, that's one of my go-to picks that'll be my prediction to be in there.
I mean, it should be. I mean, he's the guy that's flat out admitted that Japanese wrestling is the greatest wrestling on the earth. And I think if he was to ever, overseas with AEW and Ring of Honor or whatever configuration it is, but I think if he had a choice, he would work for New Japan. He would have worked for New Japan or All Japan Pro Wrestling for his entire career if he could. So I'm super excited for him to be in the G1. He's going to have great matches with whoever they pair him against. I hope they give him a good block of people to compete against, but I'm definitely going to be watching every single one of his matches. Back to the Dominion card, we had David Finlay versus El Phantasmo, which was the other bad match of the night. It's all Bullet Club BS, and I don't think David Finlay was that great, and Phantasmo was fine, but it wasn't a super fun match for the Openweight Championship. The Junior Heavyweight Championship, Hiromu Takahashi defeated Master Wato to retain the title. I was down on this because I just don't think Master Wato was great going into it, but he kind of proved me wrong in this. I thought he was actually very good, and it was a very, very good match. And I think that it almost convinced me that Master Wato will one day be the Junior Heavyweight Champion, just not today.
Almost.
Okay. I think he'll get there at some point, maybe, but Takahashi's definitely the top guy there now, and I want him to defend the title against Darby Allin at Forbidden Door, please. that is my aim for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Never Openweight 6-man tag team championship, which almost didn't happen because Claudio Castagnoli had trouble getting to the arena because of a flight delay.
Yeah, they had to move the card around, right?
Yeah, so this was originally supposed to come before the junior heavyweight title match. It came afterwards, but he did turn up for Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi to defeat Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Shota Umino to retain the 6-man tag titles. It was a very, very fun match, as you'd expect. Claudio did the big swing on Okada for about 30 seconds. That was fun. They managed to get the victory when Okada hit the Rainmaker on Umino. But then the most interesting thing afterwards was the video that played with Bryan Danielson challenging Okada for a match at Forbidden Door.
It has since been accepted. We're getting that match at Forbidden Door.
Which, of course, one of the main reasons why Callum was saying earlier that this is already shaping up to be fucking fantastic, because there's no way that match is going to suck.
It's got 2 matches booked, and it's Okada versus Danielson and Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay too. It's that's it. That's all you need. The rest of it can just be filler.
Yeah, I would really hate to be on that card. I would not want to be on that show.
And
you should be the opener and then just be like, all right, everybody, hey, I'm on the same show as this. Everybody's going to watch the pay-per-view and then see my match too, Well,
imagine if they bookend it with those 2 matches. One of them's the opener, one of them's the main event.
Yeah, then I would actively fight if I was employed by one of those companies.
Oh, I'd want to be on that card. Even if people don't remember my match, I get to be on that. I said I was part of that card where those 2 matches happened. And then the main event was the world title match with Sonada defended the title against Yota Tsuji, successfully retained. Yota's a star. Just he will be the next Tanahashi or Okada. He'll be the next top guy.
Amen.
In New Japan. Didn't happen for him quite here. I kind of hoped that it did because his performance was just so good that I thought, okay, just crown him here. This is strap the rocket to him, see what he can do. But they decided to stick with Sonada, which I think is the safe option going into the G1. So Sonada won't be defending his title for a while because of the G1 taking place, and obviously he's competing in it. And yeah, that was the end of the show. That's really good show. Obviously not as good as Wrestle Kingdom this past year, but still a fun watch. And yeah, we've seen ramifications both for the G1 Climax coming up, which starts in July. July 15th is the first show, and then has ramifications for what we'll see at Forbidden Door as well.
So if you had to guess right now, who do you think is going to win the G1?
Out of all the options, I'd say it's gonna be Naito.
What makes you go with him?
Because Sonada was part of LIJ and left, and Naito's the head of LIJ. So
that's just a means to set up that kind of more personal feud. Yeah,
I'd say so. I mean, again, it fully depends on a lot of factors because it also a lot of it depends on whether Sonada will be the champion going into Wrestle Kingdom, which I'm kind of very, very hesitant about because he's not a top name. But if they want to make him a top name, then the first thing you have to do is give him a Wrestle Kingdom main event or have him be in a title match at Wrestle Kingdom. If you are really convinced that this guy is going to be one of your next top guys, then you need to give him that opportunity. So if Naito does win, then it means that I'm fully confident saying, yep, okay, they're doing Naito Sonada in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. If Naito doesn't win, I'm going to presume that Naito and Sonada will be in the same block, and Sonada will lose a match to Naito, and then we'll have to defend the title against him before before Wrestle Kingdom, and and maybe he'll lose the title there, and then it would be one of the more obvious picks. But realistically, the only obvious picks in these ones are Okada, Naito, Ospreay, and Tanahashi. All the rest of them are very long odds, I'd say.
Do you think that they'll give one more G1 win to Tanahashi? Or did he get that when he beat Omega?
I'd say I'd be very unlikely that Tanahashi wins. He's always going to be Tanahashi, and so that's always going to work for him. But if you just watch his current body of work, he doesn't have it anymore in ring. He's still better than most, but he's slow. He's a lot more lethargic in the ring. He just does his spots. He's hidden more in tag team matches. That's why he's a 6-man tag team champion right now. So I'm actually surprised that he's going to go into this G1. This is his 22nd consecutive G1.
Yeah,
22 years in a row. So I would be I'd be incredibly surprised that if he was the one to win this one.
Now I'm going to say, go ahead, Tony.
If you got something to follow up, because I was going to ask you a different type of question.
I'm going to say that Naito is champion going into Wrestle Kingdom, and Yoda wins the G1 and takes it off.
That's kind of actually where I was going to go. Does Sonata, because I don't really fully know how the G1 works. I know that obviously, like, this is a tournament that's going to last a while. It's the whole, like, super, not just like a quick kind of tournament. They do the whole points and system and all. But does Sonata have another title defense before Wrestle Kingdom, or is it essentially like, oh, you're good for half the year now?
This is how it will work essentially. So what the G1 is going to be this year is going to be the same format as last year, which is going to be 4 blocks of 8 people, and they're all in all the 8 blocks. It's all in the 4 blocks. All 8 people are going to wrestle each other. It's going to go round robin. They pick up points. The 4 people that win the blocks go into a semi-final and then a final. So how this works in between now and Wrestle Kingdom is that if Sonata gets pinned at any point, that person who pins him will get a shot at the title before Wrestle Kingdom. It's actually just how New Japan works. It's like if a champion ever gets pinned in any match that's non-title, the person that pinned him gets a title shot.
That's how everything should work, but that's another story.
So they could potentially do like Naito against Sonata because Naito pinned him in some kind of a 6-man tag or something along those lines, and then maybe even come back around to giving this to Yoda and having it be like he lost at Dominion, but he went through the climax to earn another shot, and then now we're gonna put the belt on him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's and so it's all down to the whims of Gedo and what he thinks is the best thing to do. I think that Yotsuchi could definitely win. I think he's going to have a good showing on this, but I'd be surprised if he wins, because I think they'll just use this as an opportunity to build him up, and I think they're going to do a bit more of a gradual thing with him.
Maybe give him like the Intercontinental title or something, or not that, but I blanked on the United States title, or like one of those kind of things, like some supplemental thing, and then kind of work its way up.
I still think his first title will probably be the world title. Just think it might be sometime next year instead. Just not Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe next year's Dominion. Who knows? But yeah, I'd say at the moment, I doubt Okada wins this because he won the last 2. I mean, they could go 3 in a row, but I don't think that they need Okada to be in the main event of this show. I think Okada's going to face Kiyomiya at Wrestle Kingdom 1-on-1. Personally, just because of the way they've been building up throughout the last year or so, and they had a match in Noah and Okada won there, so I think they'll have Kiyomiya beat him at Wrestle Kingdom. But
and Okada's been a little shithead about it too,
Okada's
rubbing it in.
Okada's journey at the moment, like his current character is a guy who just hates the new young up and coming guys. Like, he's been feuding with Kiyomiya, who's kind of the young ace of Noah. He's been like teeing off with Shota Umino and Ren Narita, and that eventually he's going to get in Tsuji's face as well. Like, he's a guy that just hates young guys coming through. So that's the character they're building for him. Ospreay would be interesting, but if Ospreay, again, it fully depends on what happens at Forbidden Door. And he's never won the G1, so it might be an opportunity to do that. Of course, if Sonata was booked to win the G1, then he gets to choose his opponent at Wrestle Kingdom.
In which case, I think he'd pick Night Hill.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. Actually,
nobody ever just goes like, "I'm going to pick this this young lion," or like.
Well, actually, he said at the end of because they at the end of every pay-per-view, they have the person who wins the main event gets to cut a promo to show to send the crowd away, just get to cut a promo for the crowd. And he basically intimated that if he wins the G1, he's going to give Tai Chi the main event of Wrestle Kingdom.
Be like, I challenge Red Shoes.
That's kind of interesting.
Well, Tai Chi's the other guy in the other top heavyweight guy in Just 5 Guys, so it would make sense. But it also very much points to the fact that Sonata's not winning the G1 this year. But yeah, I'd say at the moment I'm pointing towards Naito just based on the people that have been announced. But who knows? Maybe there's a lot of like debut entries this year, so maybe this is the time that Gato goes a little bit wild with who he chooses to win. But we'll know more once the blocks are announced. They're going to be announced tomorrow. So
there's your New Japan fix for the week. Let's talk about WWE partnering up with Twitch. They've, after how many years of this kind of dancing around this whole thing?
It was the start
of pre-pandemic and all, right? Like, yeah. So they've decided to finally do some kind of a partnership with them that is going to kind of further that connection point between them. They're going to do like watch along kind of parties on top of that. And, I mean, I don't think that this is going to really affect a lot of people, but it's a good thing for the other people that were having their Twitch accounts and all, that there's like some more stability to it and they don't have to worry about, switching over back again to, you can't do this. And there's no means to make this extra money on the side or all. They cleared up some of that stuff before, but now that there's a firm partnership in place, maybe there could be some more fun opportunities there. I'm not a real big Twitch person. I don't really go on there for any means. And, I wouldn't really necessarily be watching somebody just play a game anyway, unless it was somebody I had the free time to listen to and they were somebody particularly interesting. I was playing a game that was particularly interesting. But you guys excited about any of these kind of partnership things that might go down in the future?
I think it's only right. I think, first of all, this is the partnership side of things shows where Endeavor could kind of fit in and help, because we've seen the obnoxious like Mike's Harder Limited things at WrestleMania and stuff like that. And this is good for the talent. Like, it's time. The world isn't what it was. You have to have these kinds of partnerships. So, I'm a big fan. Thumbs up.
I mean, in general, this is a good thing. I still feel a little bit icky about the whole thing because I just think, the wrestlers should just be allowed to stream if they want to.
That would be ideal.
WWE shouldn't be, and WWE should not take a slice of the stuff. If WWE's got the relationship with Twitch and they're also doing these watch parties on top of, their superstars, if they so choose to also being able to stream and just make money off of it themselves, then yeah, that's totally cool. But I just feel like this is their middle ground approach. It's like, okay, we'll give you what you want as long as we get our cut of it. So, yeah, but hopefully it is like more of a positive than that. But then also I've seen a lot of the stuff talking about Twitch recently, and that's not super.
Oh, they walked that back real quick.
No.
I've never seen a brand walk back their policy so quick. So essentially, Twitch had come out with this policy that generally said, "Hey, outside of the ads that we run, we're not going to allow like in-stream sponsorships. Like, let's just say Rocket League." The Rocket League Championship Series presented by Mobile One or whatever. they wouldn't allow that. And everybody said, if this goes through, we're leaving the platform.
Yeah, because fuck you.
They walked that shit back so quick. It was actually really refreshing to see. Like, cool, we didn't let this get out of hand. It was like one day they announced it, the next day it was already done.
You know, that we need more of that, because there's things like Twitter starts charging this absurd amount of money for the API, and then Reddit's like, oh, us too. We will charge, an exorbitant amount of money to get people into, giving us a little bit of that taste and all. We need to tell these corporations to just knock it the fuck off and stop being little bitches. But that's news to me. I didn't know that they had even done that. That was how quick that went in and out of the media cycle from my perspective. I didn't hear about it whatsoever.
You had to deal with the fact that the sky was yellow for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's cleared up a little bit more now. Apparently the breathing conditions are slightly better, but yeah, post-apocalypse is every week there's another thing. It's every month there's a brand new crazy thing, and then every week there's another twist to it. So who knows what we get for next week's hot tags? This week it's guest starring You Can't Breathe Outside. Remember those masks you wore a couple years ago? Well, you could use those again. Those are useful, right?
They're back in pog form.
Yeah. This is the sequel to the N95. Like, goddamn, I hate this world. But let's talk about this rumor. I don't have too much to say about this right now. We'll talk about it a little bit more down the line. But current rumor right now for Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar is that they will have one of the main event matches in SummerSlam, and that it'll be a Bullrope match, because they want to do a gimmick, which, I mean, that makes sense. You have their previous matches and you need to build to something else. You throw a gimmick in there, it spices things up. I had seen some rumors that they were potentially thinking about doing a dog collar match, and a Bullrope match is effectively very similar. So that fits the gimmick a little bit more with Cody Rhodes, and trying to offset, if you didn't want to necessarily do a dog collar, then you do this, and it's this, that chain match, strap match type of thing, and it could be some fun.
First of all, I like the idea of Cody versus Brock at SummerSlam, because I still think Cody Rhodes should win Money in the Bank and cash it on Roman in Madison Square Garden, but I'm not going to go there outside of just going there. I like the idea of a Bullrope match, but I would have preferred the dog collar, personally, because it's a bit more vicious. It feels like Brock could have a lot of fun, but I'm also not a big fan of, like, really all Cody's done since getting back there is work with Rollins, get injured, have this comeback story, and then do 3 matches with Brock. Like, I'm not loving that, but I also just want Cody to win things.
He'll beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at Mania.
Shut up. That's a terrible idea.
Come back to this in a couple of months. What do you think at the Bullrope match idea, Callum? Something that you were interested in seeing, or you think they should go with another gimmick?
I mean, it's probably fine. I think that it might be some good spots for Lesnar to, like, pull him around a lot with the Bullrope and fling him about the place. It'd be quite cool if they did a spot where, like, he hits a German, like, belly to belly or a German suplex on him, and he's keeping hold of the Bullrope, and he pulls him back into every German suplex afterwards. That could be fun.
That's fun.
And something that, like, Cody could use to, like, choke out Lesnar a bit, and then hit the crossroads. And obviously, you only win after 3 crossroads, so that's the secret. But yeah, the only thing I'd hope for this is that it's not a Bullrope match where you have to touch all 4 corners to win.
Oh, those are so cheeky.
I could see them doing that if they wanted to have Brock lose and not take another pinfall. But I would much, much rather prefer he chokes him out, hits a crossroads, and pins him. Yeah.
How about this? How about this? Have, like, your top babyface win a match clean.
Like,
just win in dominant fashion. Yeah. Have him beat a guy who's super well established in dominant fashion in a 3 count in the middle of the ring, and just move on. And you know what? He's so much more over it after that. Who would have thought?
I can't do that. Roman. You got to have them give them more diversity, right? Or not diversity, adversity. More diversity.
You're right. Cody should be having the Bullrope match against Omos. That's right. That's more diversity right there.
They wouldn't take Roman like 5 times to beat Lesnar. Like one-on-one.
We don't talk about the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns feud anymore.
And even at that, he only beat Lesnar by pinfall 2 out of 25 times. So, I guess there's layers to this.
Alrighty, so let's talk about the last of the hot tags that are separate from the TV talk and talk about what happened last week on SmackDown and tie that into some stuff that's going to happen this week on SmackDown and stuff. Last week we knew that there was going to be a new celebration championship situation with Roman Reigns and that he would be, the 1,000 celebration for the title reign and all, but we didn't see yet a picture of the championship. Now we've seen it, so let's get our reactions here. The new Undisputed WWE Universal Championship, which it's one of the other things that's like, is this their mission in WWE right now, is to make things kind of complicated and confusing as far as these championship belts? Yes. Because as I said before, we've currently got the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions are on the main roster. They didn't need to vacate their titles, but the NXT Women's Champion needed to. The NXT UK Heritage Cup had disappeared for all this time, and then they brought it back. It's the NXT Heritage Cup. They just acted like it doesn't matter that it was gone for something like 95 days, or, actually, no, it was more than that, pretty sure. The whole women's tag team situation with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, that was all like a total mess and all. Asuka and Rhea Ripley are on the opposite brands of their Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships and all. And we get the third world title of the World Heavyweight Championship, which isn't the World Heavyweight Championship from before or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So let's make it even more confusing and have Roman Reigns, the WWE Champion and Universal Champion. They are still distinctly keeping them as 2 separate title reigns, which I feel is 2 parts. Number 1 being that just adds to his overall time as a champion because it's doubling up. And I don't think that they want to get rid of the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. It's just a matter of, put both belts on Roman. We don't want to do anything different now. But they gave him a title belt for the Undisputed Championship. And so far, they've updated the website where he has 1 picture of just holding that belt. Yet the little slider at the bottom of the page has the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship. So first things first, the title belt design. It is, if you haven't seen it yet, it's a week old at this point. It's basically the same, except they tweaked 2 colors. They switched, obviously, the underneath it says Undisputed Champion. The backing to it is, instead of the blue or the black strap, it's a gold backing with a black strap behind that and all. And the WWE logo, instead of being the pure white version of that, is that they sort of did the inverted thing that you would do on Photoshop and have these little black stones in there. I think it is kind of ugly, but it could be a lot worse. I look at the WWE Championship, the black strap with the red swoosh and all. I think that that's, a fantastic belt. A lot of people disagree with me, but I think that looks better. But this is okay.
Well, I already know where Callum is going, so I'll save him for the end and say that the more time I spend with it, the more I like the idea that it's got a gold surrounding. I feel like this is a Triple H move in the sense that Triple H is no, the gold needs to be pronounced. I don't like
watching
that it says,
Goldmember. I like gold.
He's from Holland. I don't like that it says undisputed title on it.
Undisputed champion?
Or undisputed champion, yeah. That to me says one thing. They had this fucking belt ready last year and just decided, like they did with the Usos, that it looks cooler to have all of these belts instead of just, let's present them with a new undisputed title. Because now it's stupid because it's a fucking belt that's the undisputed champion, but it's not undisputed because there's another champion. What are we doing? I don't know why we do this. Like, you couldn't have it redone to say Universal.
Or, like you said, if you had this last year, have him hold the undisputed championship for however many months until you create this extra belt. Or maybe just don't create the extra belt and just split the titles, and then WWE Championship could have been a thing.
You know, it makes me appreciate the Raw title a little bit more because, again, as this one shows, they could have literally just said, it's the same belt, but we changed the colors. And they didn't. So that gets a thumbs up for me. As far as this belt design, I think it's like number 2 for me of all of these designs. I put the undisputed, the Universal Championship with the red and the blue straps. They're kind of like on the same tier underneath this. And then the main regular world title be the best.
The one that's the black strap, like the WWE Championship
it's the black
one.
Strap, yeah.
It's just, I don't know, the colors work so much better that way, I think. I've never been a big fan of the red strap or the blue strap. The blue strap looks odd to me with the red clashing and all. And I know that Callum is not a fan of the big WWE logo in the center, so you already hate it for that purpose. But what do you think about like the gold backing to it?
I think it looks really cheap. I think it's on sale when it's just like full on gold. But I think the fact that it's like overcompensating, you know, like how certain people drive fancy cars because they've got small penises. It feels it feels like him wearing this makes me feel like Roman's got a small penis. That's kind of
okay.
Not so much the big dog anymore, at least in my estimation.
With the 1 inches.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think that they're going really over the top with the gold plating. It just, the design itself, I've never been a big fan of. I just think it's just too plain. Like, it doesn't come across as, I mean, maybe like it's corporate and it's professional in that regard and it's uniform and maybe that's like good things for certain people. With me, it lacks character, and just adding gold over it doesn't make up for that fact. I think it still just looks. It just makes it look a lot more gaudy and a lot more like kind of icky almost. Like that it's trying too hard to be, wow, this is super cool and amazing. Like this to signify that you've held those titles so long, and so we have to give you something that's extra special to commemorate it. And it's just like it's way too shiny and tacky.
See, I think that if they were to have the kind of gold backing that's just behind the WWE logo, if that were just a little darker, and then they had the WWE logo itself was like that white standard kind of one, that this would look a lot better. And then it would be probably even more of a favorite to me than the current, like the WWE one with the black strap and all. I think that makes quite a bit of a difference, but I was nervous that this was going to be some completely different championship belt design. And since I had seen this whole setup of like the new tag team titles that don't really look all that great, but they're still an upgrade, I was a little bit worried that it was going to be like, hey, they might switch it over and do something kind of like that. Because that one, have you guys seen that design, by the way? Which is like seemingly confirmed at this point.
No, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So there was a leak that had happened before that showed these 2 different designs. One of them was, let me see if I can find it for you guys. Leaked tag team titles design. This leak had shown what turned out to be this Undisputed Championship, funny enough, and also a set of tag titles. And all right, here we go. Here's at least one picture of it. I'll show it to you guys in our Skype chat here. this seems to be what they're going to go with for the tag titles whenever they announce this thing, which when the hell they're going to get around to that.
It could be as soon as Monday for certain.
It pretty much could. And there's some elements that are similar to the current ones. There's some things that are different. I think it's an upgrade still, but
it's an upgrade, but it's
not much of an upgrade.
More of a lateral move than an upgrade. Like I do kind of wish they were changing the shape, but
yeah, I don't like the round things. I've said that before. It looks like the 24/7 championship in some ways, but getting rid of the little Sentinel Spartan heads and replacing it with a big WWE logo and then keeping every other element exactly the same. Not the way that I would have done it, especially because it doesn't look like they're side plates again, which is just like a problem where they're just sort of like, hey, we don't want tag team titles to have side plates because we don't want to produce double the amount of the same thing, or because it's so obvious. You just have one person on the one side and one person on the other side. There you go. You have Sami Zayn on the left and Kevin Owens on the right. It's fine. But this Undisputed Championship does not seemingly replace the titles as far as like, okay, well, we're just fully combining them now and there's no WWE Championship and there's no Universal Championship. I don't know how that's going to play into the future, but there's also been another announcement that Asuka is going to have a new championship celebration. That's the way that they're wording it. On the website, it says right now, Asuka to be presented with a new WWE Women's Championship. Tonight on SmackDown, we will have a WWE Championship presentation. The WWE Universe will be waiting with bated breath to see how Asuka reacts and what the new design will look like. What
first of all,
do you guys think we're getting?
First of all, I like that they're just leaning into it now. They're just like, yep, and everybody's going to be excited about what is it going to look like. I want to add to that by reading a report from Fightful that says, in a tweet promoting the presentation, WWE called it the WWE Women's Championship as opposed to the Raw Women's Championship. When we reached out to WWE sources, we were told this wasn't an accident, and some clarify that the situation should be... And some clarity to the situation should be provided tonight. The source confirmed that there have long been conversations as to how to simplify the title belts appearing on different brands that they are assigned to. We've been told that the decision to have that happen occurred after Ronda Rousey made it clear she'd rather be in the tag division. We've heard that updated title belts were at least discussed.
Wait, so how does Ronda factor into this?
Because Ronda's all they care about.
Yeah, because Ronda probably said this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Nobody can make heads or tails of this. Do something. And then they said, you know what? We should do something.
I mean, if that's the case, then good on Ronda for saying what everybody else in the fucking world's been saying and bringing it to their attention where they can pay attention to it. But
I mean, Ronda does a lot of
she's
dumb
not problematic like Naomi or Sasha Banks, so she's fine with doing that.
You know, like Ronda says a lot of stupid things, but she's also been quick to call WWE out on their shit, it seems. And, you know, good for her. I do eagerly anticipate what this new belt will look like. I assume we'll get the same thing on Monday for Rhea. And I'm looking forward to it. It's about damn time. Like, it was going on almost 3 months of like, what are they doing with the belts?
And we've talked about that ad nauseum of like, why the hell are they not just having them swap, or why did they not draft people differently and all? But I guess maybe the reason why was just because they don't plan on calling the Raw SmackDown championships and stuff anymore. And I mean, if that's the case, then maybe they should be starting to look around at the tag titles and all too. But if they're calling this the WWE Women's Championship, that in and of itself is interesting, because what do you call the other one?
The Women's Championship.
You can't just have two WWE Women's Championships with no distinction whatsoever. You got to have something a little bit different.
Au contraire, I think you can do whatever the fuck you want when you're them. And I kind of feel like they're going to simplify it. And it's not the worst idea in the world. I would prefer a different name. Like, yeah, can't call them divas because they went out of their way to make that a dirty word.
See, I could see them saying, okay, on Monday Night Raw, Rhea Ripley is going to be presented with the WWE Women's Universal Championship.
Well, you'd flip it. If Roman's on SmackDown with the Universal title, that's how I would do it. Like, the Raw gets all the world. Or actually, I guess in this case...
Because the Raw Women's Championship is the one that carries over the lineage of the WWE Women's Championship and all.
Yeah, in this case, you call this the WWE Women's Champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then you call Rhea the Women's World Champion, and then you're done. Everything on Raw is the world, like it used to be, Callum, where everything on Raw is the world. There's no WWE distinction. And then everything on SmackDown is the WWE.
Could be that Women's World Championship and then the Women's Championship, which...
Just like the tag team titles will go back to the World Tag Team titles and the WWE Tag Team titles.
Not my favorite option. I don't like World being the distinction there. I actually like Universal being more than that, but I don't like that either. So
the only reason I feel like that's definitely where they're going to go is they go out of their way to make sure they never call Seth Rollins the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He's just the World Heavyweight Champion.
I would assume that they're going to probably do something with the Rhea thing, but keeping it on the Asuka train, the name itself, what do you think, Callum?
Don't care.
Alrighty, well,
given what they've said, I think they're going to call it the WWE Women's title, and there may even be clarification as soon as tonight that they're going to give Rhea the World Women's Championship.
I hope that they say something, or at the very least, if they say something heading into Raw in the next few days. But they, of course, are talking about, hey, what's the design going to be? And then you got to assume, based off of the other championships, that it's going to have a big WWE logo in the center of it. And it might just be as simple as the same design that we have now, except they get rid of the red, and then you switch the little, like the titling at the bottom of it doesn't say Raw Women's Championship and whatever. It could just be that. And maybe I think
we should consider strongly that it's just Roman's belt with a white strap.
It could very easily be that. It wouldn't shock me at all. And that's, that's some synergy between those brand things. So they wouldn't be super ugly in my mind. I still wouldn't really like it as much as if you had some other designs, but I've never really liked the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships exactly the way that they are, because to me, there's just a slight off kind of element to the way that they have, like, the Raw Women's Championship has the red with the red swoosh, and then the SmackDown one's the blue with the red. I don't think that clashes all that well. But we'll get that kind of tonight, and then, we'll talk about our reactions to that next week on the Hot Tags and see what's going on with, if they announce anything with Rhea, if they clarify anything with the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships and all, or anything along those belts situations. But some other things that are happening on SmackDown tonight that have been announced that we could talk about this, transition into our TV talk. The preview for tonight has not only the Asuka thing, it's got the fallout for the Usos, the whole BS that I'm not all super that interested in as much as they want me to be. Michin is going to go up against Bayley, and Santos Escobar will go up against Mustafa Ali, and Butch will go up against Baron Corbin in Money in the Bank qualifying matches, as well as Shotzi against Io Sky. So, predictions you guys have?
Okay, real quick. Baron Corbin's on NXT, so he's not winning.
Yep, Butch beats him. Mustafa Ali's in NXT, so I would assume Santos Escobar, same thing.
Same thing. I would like to see Michin win just for some fresh blood, but I feel like Bayley should probably be in Money in the Bank.
I think Bayley as well.
And
for that matter, I think Io Sky beats Shotzi, and it's like Io and Bayley are fighting at some point in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and then Bayley doesn't allow Io to win, and that's the official rift of Damage Control, and Damage Control is no more.
That's how I'm thinking. Any other alternative predictions to that, Callum, or any you're like, oh man, I really want a champion for Mustafa Ali to win.
Any shred of care, Callum.
No, I would just go with the same results that you guys did. I don't see any different results.
So let's go back, talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Dynamite. Monday Night Raw, as far as, we're not going to talk about every single thing. Like each week we just kind of run down what things really matter all that much. But we had some stuff with Rollins kicking off the show and setting up Damian Priest having a title match for later on. And he showed a lot of respect to Seth Rollins, saying, you are deserving champion and everything. And I don't need to have Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley by my side to beat you later on. Of course, later on in the night, Seth Rollins retains over Damian Priest, and Finn Balor had been ringside. Priest was wondering what he was doing there. I think that the best course of action here, and it might be where they're going, it might not. I want Damian Priest to leave Judgment Day and get replaced by JD McDonough.
I didn't watch Raw. I'll put that out there. Obviously, I wasn't home. I didn't see it. I don't think that's a good idea. Not right now. Like, they're just finally finding a nice groove in Judgment Day. I wouldn't want to see Priest leave them right now.
See, I could see Priest leaving, though, because I feel like he's the one that is the least involved in that groove. It's mostly Rhea and Dominic, and then Finn kind of being the de facto leader. Priest doesn't really serve much of a role as much anymore. He's not the tough guy, because that's kind of Rhea in a lot of ways. And he's not like the funny one, that's Dominic. And he's not the leader, because it's Finn. So he's kind of just being overlooked.
He's the muscle.
But see, that's where Rhea comes in, I think, more so than anything.
Rhea can't fight men.
They've had her slamming people and, intimidating men left and right. I just feel like Priest on his own could serve himself a little bit better, and McDonough needs a little something. But anyway, that's me.
I agree. McDonough needs to be put right next to Finn Balor so that you never get over the fact that they're so damn similar.
Yeah. Well, he trained him, so that's also a reason to be like, I'm going to bring in a former protege of mine, and he's clearly got this character that's, wants to be all sadistic and torture people and all. So that would work.
Besides, why do you want Edge and Damian Priest to continue feuding with the Judgment Day?
Well, Priest could feud with like McDonough and stuff, but where does Edge come in there?
Because he'll reconcile and just say, I've seen the error of my ways, Edge, I apologize, and then we'll get a summer tag team. Just
hope not. God, I don't need that anymore.
And before anyone says the draft, my argument to you is Paul Heyman's been on SmackDown been on Raw every week since being drafted to SmackDown.
Oh, this firm brand split that we had gotten, that was, it's definitely going to take effect after Backlash, and then immediately after Backlash. Yeah, by the way, the SmackDown people are also going to be in this tournament for the Raw title. And by the way, the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships they're on the opposite brands. And oh, by the way, AJ Styles is popping up in here. Oh, and by the way, it's they just said a big fuck you to that. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey retained the women's tag team titles over Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Shinsuke beat Ricochet just in a match because they're both in the Money in the Bank. They had a whole thing with Miz and Miz TV and Cody Rhodes and Dominic and all. Zoe Stark beat Natalya, and Becky Lynch beat Sonya Deville to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder matches, or the one ladder match for the two women there. Not too much else to talk about on that front. Pretty much is what it is. NXT, we got the second appearance in the ring of Ava from Schism, and that was the thing. Baron Corbin is basically going to be feuding with Ilya Dragunov coming up in the future. They're going to have a match next week. Blair Davenport beat Danny Palmer. Corbin had beaten Trick Williams, for anybody who wants to know about that. Von Wagner is interested in his hot blonde chick therapist. That's the angle of he rejects all of them. And then, of course, this woman pops up and he's like, maybe I'll give that a shot.
You know what? NXT with its random, seemingly inspired by porn
As you've said before, NXT is super horny.
Yeah, it's like I made the joke of, oh, they clearly found her on Better Hump, and it's just like, I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's funny. I think Von Wagner making a stupid, goofy face when he saw her is funny. So
finally, come Tuesday, it's here.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It is come Tuesday.
I hope that they play into that and say something along those lines. They've called attention to the whole Come Tuesday thing on the air, so,
Well, isn't it like, it's kind of a continuation of the storyline, because wasn't his whole thing that he was super hot for Maxine Dupree and he would just beat anybody up for looking at her?
They didn't really get into the idea that he had a thing for her, but he was just beating people up that looked at her.
She would just walk by and he'd just like, oh, I'm going to fight him now for you.
Yeah, so going back to that and switching it up a little bit. A lot of women that are in like the Performance Center and everything popped up on this episode, her being one of them. The Cavender twins apparently were some of the ones that were holding up Thea Hale, who won the #1 Contenders Battle Royal, which means that she is, I guess, now the youngest person to ever have a title match. I think that's how they're billing it. Yeah, because she's 19.
The youngest woman? No. Because Kenny Dykstra won the tag team titles at 19.
She might be like younger 19. I don't know.
Younger,
okay. Like, like not as into being 19 as he was or something. I don't know. But yeah, she's apparently making history doing that.
I don't think Kenny Dykstra is the youngest champion anyway.
Well,
Nicholas now. That's true. Yeah.
Well, I was actually talking about Rene Dupree is actually the youngest champion outside of Nicholas.
Oh, was he 18?
No, he was 19 as well.
Oh, just the younger 19.
But he was 19 when he won the tag titles the first time.
Well, nobody's going to beat the Nicholas record, that's for sure. Well, I mean, technically, I guess Maria was pregnant when she was the 24/7 champion. So
that's right. And one of those babies is the youngest champion.
Yeah, that's try to break that record at some point, everybody. Also, we had the best thing to happen in the week of pro wrestling for sure. Scripps beat Dabba-Kato.
You know what, Tony? Honestly, I feel like if I was home, we would have made a Darkcast about this, because despite the fact that Dabba-Kato is big
and Scripps is not,
he got the win.
I hated this. I thought this was so stupid, but I'm glad that they had him beat the shit out of them afterward, because Scripps get like a roll up, and then immediately afterward, Dabba-Kato just tosses him around, and then he tosses Axiom around.
Street name is Scripps or whatever the fuck they're going with. Why do we care?
Well, the thing is, we don't.
Why are we supposed to care about Tommy, Reginald, the sommelier, Nia Jax's ex, can do flippy dippy doos? It's called Scripps. What are we doing? What is this?
That was his name before, right? Reginald Thomas?
Yeah, because Carmella came in and called him Tommy. The next week, they were like, oh, he's Reginald Thomas. They shortened that to Reggie.
And then changed it to Scripps because that's the name that he had when he was growing up.
And then he suddenly it was the focal point of a SmackDown Women's Championship feud that headlined WrestleMania. I hate this.
Good old Reginald, Reggie, Scripps, Tommy Thomas. Let's talk about Dynamite. I had seen little bits and pieces of this episode, but I was doing quite a bit of other things, so I missed a good portion of it. But Callum, you want to take the reins for this and fill us in a lot better than what I would?
Would you talk about a little bit of breaking news before that?
Oh, what do we have?
They canceled Young Rock.
Yeah, they canceled. Yeah, NBC has canceled Young Rock after 3 seasons.
Well, fuck it. The show was interesting for the parts where they showed the wrestlers, and then everything else for that was not really all that good. So,
dude, Black Adam fucked the Rock up, right? Like everything's going bad for Dwayne since then.
Tell you, I mean, if you work on the movie for like 11 years and it sucks that bad, then karma.
He is dialing the con like, hey, Philadelphia.
Yeah, so that Roman match, I think I could be ring ready.
I think we could do it. And then they should change Roman's name to Chad Frost, and Roman Reigns should beat the shit out of him.
That'd be great. Or just have the guy that's Chad Frost beat him in the ring and be like, you know what? It's not even having the Rock and Roman match.
But yeah, that was just a little thing. Over to Dynamite then. Orange Cassidy successfully defended the International Championship against Swerve Strickland. Really fun match, as you'd expect between these two, and somewhat surprising result, because I think a lot of people expected Swerve to be the guy to beat Cassidy because the reign is continuing, so
yeah, I really expected Cassidy to drop it here.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting it too, and when I saw that match ended the way that it did, I was just like, okay, but you know what? Here we go again with, I guess the next person's going to be Orange Cat. This is a great title reign.
Yeah, and then you have had Mogul Embassy come out afterwards to put an attack on Orange Cassidy, and they were chased off by Darby Allin and Sting. And next week we're going to have an 8-man tag between all members of the Mogul Embassy against Cassidy, Sting, Darby Allin, and Keith Lee.
Are you serious? That sounds amazing. Yep. That sounds like something that should not be happening, but like AEW continues to be this E-Fed that Tony Khan books, so of course it's happening.
At a preview, well, as I say preview, a little bit of a warm-up for Forbidden Door with Blackpool Combat Club taking on Chaos of Best Friends and Rocky Romero. So, yeah,
why aren't they called the Three Amigos? Just a thought.
Maybe they're just three guys.
But yeah, there's just expected. Had Danielson on commentary talking about the Okada match as well, and yeah, Blackpool Combat Club got the win. And then they also announced that next week it's going to be Blackpool Combat Club in trios match against the Hung Bucks of Adam Page and the Young Bucks. So yeah, they're stacking next week's show a bit. Then you had, I think they're trying to make this show feel really special for next week because it's in Washington DC, and they always talk about the fact that was the place that had the first ever episode of Dynamite, so they always feel special going there. They had an MJF promo where MJF cut a promo and he was interrupted by Adam Cole, and so they went back and forth. This went way too long. And,
interesting.
And a lot of people seem to like it. I mean, I liked it, but for the most part, I'm just thinking, yeah, Adam Cole doesn't really deserve to be in this position and his current performances.
So I saw a lot of like, oh wow, oh my god, what a great segment. You're saying it went on too long. Judging by my Twitter timeline, it went on way too long because people are talking about it still going for a good 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Righteous Reg of Grapsody kind of said, we've seen this before with Max. It's like wash, rinse, and repeat. He just does the same thing with everybody he works with. I can kind of see that point, even without having seen the promo, because we know what Max does.
Yeah, it's just the usual stick where like he spent like the first portion of it talking about how big of a fan of Cole he was and how he'd seen his rise through Ring of Honor and CZW, and then going over to Florida and shocking the system there. But then it started going into, you know, the subtle stuff that only really hardcore wrestling fans care about. Is like
Keith Lee's manager and all.
Yeah, and how Vince McMahon didn't see anything in him because he's too small, and how Britt Baker's got his balls in his purse and all that stuff. And now he's a Twitch streamer. It said that he was a virgin Gollum, which makes me feel like, wasn't Gollum just a virgin himself? But that's kind of...
No, there's deleted scenes where he was just slaying.
He fucked the ring.
Yeah. He's got a lot of preciouses around.
Yeah. But yeah, then Cole just fell back, basically said the body work. Oh, they also did the carrying cross line as well.
MJF, which one was that?
Bell.
He said
you want to make MJF feel special, ring the bell kind of thing?
Yeah, he said that. So Cole did that. He basically intimated that MJF does steroids.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people were like up in arms, like, "Oh my god, I never thought about it. Does MJF do?" It's like, I think people claim to be smart. They say one thing, and you're just like, "Oh my god, wow, is MJF doing steroids?" It's sorry, that's about all I can add, because all I saw was Twitter reactions to this, but that one seemed to really strike a lot of people. Like, hey, wait, does MJF do steroids?
I just thought that was a weird thing to throw out there, because like he's not the most muscular, kind of guy where it's like, all right, you look at him and you go, wow, what a roided up dude. And then what do you get out of it? It was an odd choice to
nothing. It sounds like it was a lot of like buzzword, pop the internet. And look, I love Adam Cole. That's not a secret. And I think MJF is great. But I think there might be a reason we're rushing this and just doing it next week.
Yeah, so the one difference is that it's not just going to lead to even more like promo segments or Adam Cole having to go through hoops to challenge MJF because they're just having a title eliminating match next week. So
does Adam Cole beat him?
Yep,
and
probably
then set up for whatever pay-per-view?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine he's going to win.
I kind of imagine that they're just going to get this out of the way and somebody's going to cost Adam the match and they'll move on.
Do that kind of a setup for Forbidden Door, maybe?
Yeah. Although, yeah, I mean, I'm still firmly of the belief that MJF's not working Forbidden Door.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Because he hates his character hates New Japan, so.
And that could even be their way of doing it too. They could be like, well, you're getting basically Cole versus him on TV, and then, we'll move on after that and start building towards All In.
Had Jack Perry and Hook, Jungle Hook, if you want to call him that, against the faction Ingobernables, Preston Vance and Jalistico in a Texas Tornado tag match. Bit of blood, bit of weapons being run around. Jungle Hook get the victory. Yeah, it was fine. Nothing super memorable, but I think it's just building towards the inevitable Jack Perry turning on Hook and going after the FTW Championship.
Mm-hmm.
No, can't that just be his birthright? And we just leave it with him, and Jack Perry can go do something else. Like,
well, this is good. This is like he needs to turn heel, and he
definitely does.
But he also said that he wants to win the championship, and this is the most viable championship for him to go after right now. I think I'm cautiously optimistic about how this is going to progress. I think you keep them as a tag team for like a couple of months. They get one shot at the tag titles, they lose, Jack Perry snaps, and then he goes after the FTW Championship. Just simple and effective.
I'll let it play out. Also, buy the new Jungle Hook Pride shirt at shopaew.com and do some good. The proceeds go to charity.
I was wondering why you were plugging that. I'm like, you got cut of the proceeds or something?
I don't know why that's the only act they're doing for this treatment, but okay. Go ahead. Everybody, all you Jungle Hookers, go nuts.
They had Takeshita come out and squash
someone.
So
that was fucking Gollum then. Oh, that's Jungle Hookers.
Takeshita came out and squashed someone who looks remarkably like Sean Spears, but wasn't Sean Spears.
I really thought he was Sean Spears. Yeah, that's funny. Because I had been like fast forwarding for commercial break or something, and then I'm like, oh wait, Sean Spears. Wait, no, that's not him. What the fuck is this guy? Was his name Damon something or whatever?
Yeah, it was no name jobber guy, wherever it was, and it was mainly just Takeshita gets a dominant win. I was against Damon Ace apparently.
Damon Ace. Yeah. I thought it was Damon something.
And then Don Callis cut another promo where he's getting booed out of the building. This act is going well, and looking forward to whenever Takeshita and Omega get that one-on-one match, but I assume that'll be somewhere down the road. Then Chris Statlander defended the TBS Championship for the second time in 2 weeks against Anna Jay this time. And, okay match, nothing special, gets the victory. Ty Valkyrie still watching sideways on at a TV screen to challenge her at some point. But
she's got her good grrr reaction. I didn't like that at all.
There was some other stuff as well. There was Christian Cage and Luchasaurus attacked Brock Anderson backstage and left him bleeding. So I guess Luchasaurus is going to be taking on Wardlow next for the TNT Championship. Okay. Tony Storm challenged. Oh, so there's a fatal 4-way match on Rampage where Tony Storm will be defending the AEW Women's Championship. If you don't want spoilers, then shut your ears for the next 15 seconds or so. But she's going to be facing Sky Blue.
Thank you. I did not know that. really, I mean, could have at least given her Mercedes or something. Like,
I think
Sky Blue, we've already seen it.
I think it's playing off the fact of that Double or Nothing press conference that she said, where she said, "Oh, give me like asked who do you want to face at Forbidden Door?" She said, "Oh, give me Sky Blue or give me Stardom's version of Sky Blue, and I'll just beat the shit out of them." But maybe they're just saying, "Okay, we'll give you the real Sky Blue here," and then, well, we can get into that a little bit about how everyone was potentially excited about a Stardom superstar, a Stardom wrestler coming over and potentially fighting for the women's title, having some sort of Stardom influence. Stardom has a show on the same day as Forbidden Door.
Womp womp.
And all the big stars have been booked on it, including Kyrie, who's a freelancer. So
does that take Mercedes out of there?
Well, no, the ankle took Mercedes.
Yeah. The ankle injury takes her out of that, so
she wouldn't be ready, because I had seen things before that wasn't as bad as it seemed like it was.
No, but
everybody seems to be talking about it like there were talks, but once the ankle injury happened, there were no longer talks.
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't completely rule it out, but I think it's unlikely they're going to pull one of the stars they've already announced for a show in Japan to appear on this show. So I guess if we are having a women's match at Forbidden Door, it will just be an AEW women's match. So, like last year's. Unless they get some kind of other freelancer or some other name in to do it instead.
Naomi.
Alicia. Okay.
Then you had the main event, Ricky Starks against Jay White. Jay White gets the victory thanks to how did it end, Tony? You watched it, right?
How did it end, Tony?
Yeah, it ended the same way that every other episode ends. It cuts to the next TV show.
Yeah. So Austin and Colton Gunn came out when the referee was taken down, thanks to Ricky had gotten Jay White out for the Rochambeau, but when he was hitting it, he managed to hit the referee at the same time. It's just another example of Paul Turner absolutely sucking at his job.
Oh, they all suck.
Oh, by the way, for the context of the joke, everybody, it's because I completely forgot the ending of this match before we started recording. I just realized people will be like, "The fuck is this?" Yeah, I completely forgot that this had even happened.
So Austin and Colton Gunn came out while the referee was down. They hit Starks with their iteration of the 3D. Whether I don't know what they call it, but
it's the Shatter Machine, like complete shot thing that they do.
Yeah. So that allowed Jay White to hit the Blade Runner and get the victory. So I imagine that what this means is that the Bullet Club Gold faction is growing, and Austin and Colton Gunn are the new, I guess, the resident tag team of that group.
Are they gonna I don't want to rip this apart too much, because maybe they're looking at it like, well, the New Age Outlaws joined DX. But if I had to pick and choose, I'd say Finlay did a better job of recruiting for Bullet Club this week than Jay White did.
It would depend very much on on your perspective of it, really, because I saw a lot of people on Twitter basically saying, "Oh, Bullet Club's dead. Like, these guys are joining these young guys that no one realistically has heard too much about. They're all just young lions."
Hey, that's how Bullet Club started. I think that's a good.
I'm pretty sure Carl Anderson and they were pretty well established by the time
and Tama Tonga and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, but people forget. People may wish they could forget, but Austin and Colton Gunn are former AEW tag team champions. They're not just two young guys they plucked out of nowhere and just said.
For that entire run, it was kind of like, damn, they're still the tag team champions. Yeah, when are we moving on?
I think they're a good tag team, and now they're seconds to Jay White, and so this is just about giving Jay White a crew to build around himself for him to be a main event star, which I think that the Guns can just perfectly suit the role of. I think we should also mention that on this show, as part of his on-running series of big announcements, Tony Starks revealed that the main event of the first episode of Collision is going to be a trios match pitting Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson against FTR and CM Punk.
Tony Stark said that off there, but you said Tony Stark.
We both got it. We're both waiting for it.
Yeah.
Tony Starks.
There's a lot of names going around.
Good old Ricky Khan.
Yeah, Ricky Khan. But yeah, it's just Khan announced the main event of Collision. I guess it's like he's just trying to build up the anticipation. I can't imagine what the announcement will be next week. I imagine it'll be the full card for Collision because it'll be.
If they do that,
the days afterwards. So
that is true. It's next week, isn't it?
Yeah. So
wow. Okay.
At this point, I'm kind of expecting Tony Khan to be like, I've got another announcement. So the day that Collision is going to debut, I plan on eating this for lunch. Just sort of every single time. It's going to be another Collision-based announcement every week.
Everybody makes fun of this. It's clear to me what they're doing. They're trying to use him as like a Jack Tunney, and I'm here to tell you, CM Punk will be in action. Yay.
I think that they're just desperate to sell tickets, and they're kind of like, let's announce this, let's announce that, let's announce this to try to get people
It's not so much for this one because I think the United Center's pretty much sold out already. It's not really, and like announcing this as the main event of the show isn't going to help sell the tickets that they're struggling to sell in Canada. So I think this one was just to get a few more. Build up a little bit more anticipation for the first show because I assume they want the first show to do a big number, then hopefully retain that as the weeks go by. But that was it. It wasn't like an absolutely top range one. It definitely wasn't anywhere close to how good last week's Dynamite was, but it was still a good show as it typically is. So, but looking forward to next week. Looks like they seem to be building up for something quite big.
Yeah, very very excited.
And that's a breakdown of the whole hot tags that we got going on here. Of course, if we missed anything, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Carry that over into next week or something. And the main event for next week, the current plan is to do our annual fan ounce table up in Money in the Bank ladder match. This one's going to be the 2013 one that was the All-Stars WWE Championship contract one, because we had done the other one before with Damien Sandow. So we will record that at some point in the next few days. That'll be up on, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when we end up recording that. So stay tuned for that. Go back and check out the previous things that we had done, like the Darkcast, for instance, where I had done my ultimate 128-man King of the Ring tournament, which was a lot of fun to set up and kind of exhausting as well. I see that Adam had posted on the Patreon thing that he definitely enjoyed that. So thank you, Adam, for checking that out. Thank you for praising my choice of who wins that. I haven't told these guys how that works out. Obviously, I don't want to.
I don't want you to tell me. I want you to send me a link to the file, and I want to listen to it myself.
I'll have to do that and see what you guys think. But
off the top of my head, though, I have to imagine Mabel wins the King of the Ring.
Well, now that's interesting. Off the top of your head, who do you think I booked to win the Ultimate King of the Ring tournament, Callum?
Scripps.
I just at the last second, it turns out that even though he's not been in it, he's going to be added into the last second.
I'd say that you go with...
What is that? Like everybody that's ever been in a King of the Ring tournament?
Yeah.
Everyone who's been in there from the pay-per-view in 1993 onward. So not like Randy Savage or Haku or
Okay, I'd say then that you're going to go with Bret Hart to win.
I'd actually, honest guess, I think you go with Owen.
All right. Well, you would be interested to figure out what's going on. And if you are, then go ahead and check out the Darkcast. For that, go back and check out the last week main event and all the fantasy booking type stuff that we had done, the mock draft side of those things with the people that we did the last 2 episodes and all. And of course, stay tuned to everything else that's happening on smarkandmama.com. We've got the different articles on there. We've got future podcasts coming up. Who knows what is in store for the future? We got a whole set of pay-per-views that are going to be happening very soon. Forbidden Doors coming up. Money in the Bank's coming up. After that, we're going to start getting into things like the Mount Rushmore of American Pride wrestlers. That'll be interesting to talk about Sergeant Slaughter again. Look at that. Hulk Hogan and such. Probably do some other kind of a dark cast based off of the Heat of the Moment tournament, and maybe do a quick turnaround because we've never gotten a chance to do that yet. So we might talk about the hottest heels that are currently on the roster towards that beginning of July. Then I'm going to be out in Brazil for 2 weeks. But then after that, we got NXT's Great American Bash and SummerSlam and all. So a lot of pay-per-view content coming up soon. But in the meantime, we got Fan Announce Table coming up before that. So stay tuned and check out everything at Smark Out Moment. Make sure that you're following, of course, fanboysanonymous.com. Make sure that you are doing all the things I mentioned with this marketplace, like the Patreon subscription and the Redbubble and TeePublic merchandise. And if you're on YouTube, the channel membership, just click that join button. Also, though, be sure to go to anthonymango.com or amangotree.com and follow and like and share and favorite and whatever that is for all those different links, including my personal accounts at Tony Mango. And make sure you're following Rob and Callum.
Yep, follow me everywhere at DudeFelice, dudefelice.com. Forever coming soon. It should have launched by today, but we'll see how that goes.
It should have launched by last year's.
Well, that's besides the point. We're getting there. I want it today because it's 6/9/69. Nice.
Callum knows. Callum?
You can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out the power rankings every week on smarkomomo.com, where I rank the WWE wrestlers from 10 to 1. So check out who's top of the rankings this week. And then you can also follow the Fantasy League, both on SmarkOMO and at WWEFantasyLeague.com, and see which of our teams is picking up points as we move towards Money in the Bank and the next big change in teams coming up then.
All right, so all that Fantasy League stuff you can find, of course, there, and everything else, of course, at smarkoutmoment.com. So thank you for listening to this. Thank you for leaving your comments. If you've done that, if you haven't, then do it. And then the thank you that I did isn't invalidated. Stay tuned for everything else that's happening, though. But we will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.